Hello everyone, hello, Katie here, and I printed off some Faded Chronicle, her hybrid. I'm trying to think if she's calling it hybrid. I had it right in front of me just a moment ago. Let me see. She is calling it just her 2026 A5 full year. So it is including a horizontal and a vertical. And let's see, I will link it below. And yeah, I'm just seeing if there's any other name I should be going by. I don't see one. So because I know it's a little, so there was a hybrid planner last year that was put out by Twines of Paper. And now that caught on pretty quickly, but there was some hiccups with deliveries. I'm not going to go into it in this video. And so other companies saw that, definitely, and are kind of coming out with their own. I do think that Faded Chronicle, like this, definitely has her own spin to it. And I do think that Sterling Ink, that came out with kind of a hybrid, mostly for the ring inserts, came out with a really interesting design. And I don't think there's any, I think there's a lot of influencing going on, but I wouldn't say there's any copying, and that's my opinion. I've worked in the graphic design world for a while, most of my career, I have to say over 20 years. And it can feel very much like an original design. It just depends what kind of trademarks you have filed and in what country. Because now this is like in many different countries. In the US, there's definitely that trademark system. I'm not an expert on it, but I do know that you need to diverge enough from an original work to call it your own. So with my eyes, in terms of copyright and trademark, I feel like there's nothing that is overlapping enough. Sorry, I'm just trying to get that off. Nothing overlapping enough because if you look at these are very Hobonichi-like, right? But definitely, Hobonichi influenced. And I don't know if Hobonichi was the very first one to do. I'd have to do some research on that. And if anyone knows, I would love to hear. But in a roundabout way, I am trying out different hybrids this year. I did pre-order the Faded Chronicle one. And I also did order the Sterling Ink inserts, A5 inserts. So these are A5. Technically, this is an A4 piece of paper. You cut it down in half, it's A5. So I'm feel really lucky right now that I live in a country that A4 is standard now. So I moved from the US to the Netherlands this year. And last year, I have to say, when I was trying to do A4 to A5 anything, it was hard because that's not the standard there. And printing out inserts, sure, there's definitely tricks to it. You can just buy A4 paper. And I did, but it's just less common. And now, I just printed this out without even thinking about it, at 100% on paper. That's just what I typically have on hand. So it's just nice in that area. And I'm just noticing it, right? I just feel fortunate with that. But I typically use A5. And so that's why I got these printed out. Now, this one was a file. If you see the watermarks, most likely it's a file from her Facebook group, the Faded Chronicle Facebook group. You can search in there and find these. I think they should all be under the files tab in there, but you do have to do a little searching for it. And then if there's like a kind of a shadow here, on the link that's below, there's a flip through, which I think is incredibly kind, to flip through, and I just did screenshots and printed these out. This was a download, and let's see if they will not stick together. And this was a screenshot, and this was a download, and this was a screenshot. So every other one here is a screenshot. But I really wanted to see the vertical, and these are going to be pretty close to the actual size that I would be using. So I just wanted to kind of look over them. I've seen them floating around, but I have not tried anything with them. And I'm kind of wondering about starting on the weekly and then zooming out, because sometimes we can go like really big to small, and it can be a little hard. I think it's good for like planning bigger projects. Excuse me, but in this instance, I'm just trying to see how my plans, that the way I plan, can kind of fit, and then I can pull out, zoom out kind of in a sense. So this is like, you know, January 5th on, and this is before January 5th. So there are 2 different weeks, but the layout is the same. I definitely wanted to get a feel of this because I knew there was a vertical, but I hadn't looked back on it. So there's going to be lines in between each day. I'm wondering how I'm going to feel about that. I think that's going to be interesting. The numbers are after the days of the week. So if I want to, and I just have like a pencil and a highlighter here just to kind of see like what I would want to typically highlight. I feel like there's an extra box up here. And so instead of 3, there's actually 4, which is kind of nice to have that extra room there. And then this does feel like a little shorter here, and the box stops a little early. So there's a little less room here. And I think just this, again, this is just offhand. I don't know if I would even like highlight down here, because this kind of feels like a box. You know, like, I guess you could. It depends how dark everything is printed. I think these are printing not too far off from the proofs that I've seen in her videos. So I do think these are light enough lines to use, but also dark enough that you can see them really well. It's a very hard balance, I have to say. So many people are like, we want it really light so we can just do whatever. But then there's usability issues for people who have sight issues, sight conditions where it's really hard to see things. And I have to say, as I'm aging, it can be harder to see things. I am nearsighted, so I can see most of this without glasses, although my eyes are getting more tired. And so these little numbers can feel a little too small, but design-wise, though, I wouldn't want them any larger, you know, because then I think they would be too big. I do have a problem with designs having too big of numbers. It just feels like this is fine for having, like, it's like a title of the whole page. You want to see these numbers. And actually, it'll be kind of nice to see this here, because when I'm sitting down, I don't have to look at these 2 numbers. I can just look here. And so it saves my eye from panning here and here and then saying, hey guys, I'm planning the 29th through the 4th. So I also think when you're kind of thumbing through the book, it's just nice to see these here as well. So I do very much like that, because on the horizontal area here, all you see are the small numbers here. And so being able to flip through the book and see these, I think is really useful. I think that was very intentional, and I like that. So yeah, if I were to use stickers across the top, I do like that they're centered, because it is, if I have a solid sticker, I can just put it right on top and not have to, in the sterling, no, it wasn't sterling ink. In the twines and paper all year, I've had to kind of had things left aligned, and it kind of bothered me a little bit. But I know sterling ink does left aligned as well. So I do kind of like that this is centered. More often, I would probably highlight across the top. Now this is just, whoops, I'm just going to continue it on then. I probably wouldn't fill that part in, but, or maybe like with these boxes, I've experienced this with paper tests, is that if there's boxes, I definitely wouldn't like run these through like that. And I do kind of like just highlighting in the boxes instead of having it open sometimes. I kind of feel like this is like a hybrid design of a lot of different companies, but also original enough. So yeah, I'd probably highlight there, stick some stickers on the top. Sometimes people like having this here, sometimes not. I do think it's better to have the week that you're in. What else would I do here? I don't think, yeah, I don't think I would highlight here or here, but just paying attention to, this is like where it is in the month. This would definitely be time blocking and seeing which appointments are running into each other. Like I didn't realize this last week because my ADHD, dyslexia, I'm not sure, would, a combination of it all, would, I didn't realize there were 3 appointments at the same time this next week on October 2nd. I thought one was on the 1st, one was on the 2nd, and then something else popped up on the 2nd. And I was, I just didn't realize they were all on the same date. So thankfully I've been putting stuff on my Google Calendar, and then I transfer those to here. But if I had written them all down in the next week, I would have seen, like, especially on this layout, like, oh geez, those are all running into each other. I think you can with this kind of layout as well. You can see like, oh, I have 2 9 o'clocks, but something about, and especially here now that I'm taking the bus everywhere, I need to see that if something's like an hour away, it's definitely not going to allow me time to try to overlap them in any kind of way. And another one's like 10-minute walk away, like, you know, that kind of thing. Commute times were always, you know, something in the US as well, but like most things are about 15-20 minutes away. But here it's like sometimes it's an hour to, especially when we were going to Amsterdam and registering things and doing a lot of appointments. Now, fortunately, like the doctor and the hospital I'm going to is about 20 minutes, but I'd probably buffer that a little bit. Because also I found that way is a bridge that goes up and down. So I want to accommodate bridge traffic on that route. I was fortunate to understand that coming home when I was in absolutely no rush. And so, yeah, it's just buffering time is a little different here. In a good way, so yeah, I don't know if there's much else. We definitely are in 24-hour time here, and I wasn't sure. I think, I'm trying to think which, I don't know if it's Wonderland 222 or there's, what is it, the Journey Planner. One of those had a 24-hour time, and I don't know which one it was, because I thought it was Twines and Paper, and then it wasn't when I got that, and then I thought it was this one, and it wasn't that, and I know Sterling Ink never has. So there was another one floating out there that had it. So I do have to say it helps here. Would I renumber these at all? No, there's too many numbers to go ahead and redo that, but I wouldn't mind either way, I guess, now. And if I was back in the States, it would really confuse me because I wasn't used to it. But now that I'm getting more used to it, it still throws me. Like, I still think, I look at the clock and see 1600 and like, is it 6 o'clock? Like, my brain is a little slow on, oh, no, that's 4 o'clock. So, this one though is what I'll put this off to the side. I find this layout really interesting. So I find this really original, well thought out. I think there's a lot that can be done here. Like, you have boxes for Monday through Sunday, twice here and another time across the top. I'm trying to think, like, I definitely do a lot of meal planning, and I'm wondering if up here is going to turn into a meal planner and not so much on here. I used to, like, the 5 to 6 o'clock spot here in the evenings, I would put meals. And I'm just kind of wondering, that might be something I shade out. Like, there may be things where I just kind of do this just to block it out, to know, like, the family is busy. Because it does help to write things there, but I don't want to put appointments up here is the thing. Like, I'm more used to seeing them here. And so up here, that's why I'm just kind of like, well, let's switch a little bit more, because I don't need the actual numbers. Yeah, because the date numbers here really help with appointments, but since there's no numbers up here, I would definitely use that more for, yeah, I think meal planning. So if I was using that way up there, what would I highlight? So, and I'm also just thinking about my stickers. I love this area here because I do use about 4 different quadrants here, like 4, so yeah, I probably would highlight these. I don't know if I'd highlight them every time because they are kind of highlighted. Like if I was doing kind of a gray layout, I'd probably just leave it. But separating out, like, you can use this for what's really important and urgent and what's not, that kind of 4 quadrant. I'm trying to remember exactly what they are. I don't use them regularly, so I don't remember the exact which one is it. You're pretty much going for, like, stuff that's just not urgent to really urgent. And so I really like having an admin list. And so that I know is like sit down computer stuff. I'm gonna do some right when I get done here is just like appointments, whether it's meal planning, anything I can just sit and do on the computer for a while. And maybe I need some quiet to really go through them. And then it could be like errands or like physical things, like to-do items. And then I do like having a little bit of work. I don't know if I'm going to have a separate work planner because I feel like I might have had too many places to put things. I don't know. I would like to go back to one planner, and I think because things just overall are simpler. And I don't know if it's because I'm just cutting out a lot of things that just didn't work before with the move of just going, okay, here's a reset. I'm not going to do this anymore. So I'd like to have like a work section. And then I don't know what the last one would be here. It could be like things to buy. Just to have a little place to kind of dump. Oh, I need to get such and such. There's usually something little, like once a week, that whether it's batteries or something that you need to fix and find a part for, or I don't know. So that's kind of how I'm envisioning this. And I think it's going to be really useful. Like I see that as very much, yes, that's what I'm doing. Here, this area, I love that this is all set up because I've been trying to write out the days of the week and I don't like how kind of wonky it's gotten. So I think I would do like chores on one side and then self-care on another. I think that's, I don't know, that feels really natural. And I had been transferring these into an earlier part. I do like the Twines and Paper earlier pages where there was project pages, especially this year for life project pages. It really helped to have those there with our move. And then to see like all of those projects stopped at some point and now there's new projects now to start on. I found that really helpful. I don't know if I need that this year. So it's more like we're concentrating on the smaller things. So I'm just thinking like project wise, it is good to have like a better overview of like work things project wise. But I think, maybe I can build something like that into some of the blank pages. So we'll see. And yeah, across the top of just having, here I won't run it all the way over, but just having the meals of the day. I could do, like if I really wanted to meal track or if I wanted to do some health things, that's another thing. I'm wondering about also not having a health planner. And I'm trying to think if it would be, like I definitely want to put down here or up there now. I'm wondering about putting the temp and weather on the top here. So this is going to be appointments, most likely out of the house. There could be some Zoom appointments, right? Some, video appointments. But what I'm trying to think of is like, if I'm looking at admin and tracking things and maybe here, but if I'm looking at going outside the house, inside the house, outside, that's kind of what I'm looking at. So I'm just going to make up some temps here in like 14, 21. As a low and a high. Because I think it would be nice to see like, oh, okay, this is, because I usually put them at the bottom, but it would be nice to kind of have at the top to go, okay, this is preparing for your day. And then I could do, because here I'm not going to be able to put in any numbers if for health reasons. I could totally see this as like a health tracker on the top. I could see that, but I could also see it down here. If I put weather, it's also nice to see like, because we have like trash usually has like a window of like an hour or so on Tuesday mornings. And then putting the trash out here. We usually do it around 9 o'clock. Just kind of giving that room because I can put it here as a reminder because it is nice to kind of see that information twice. But again, this is a timed activity, so I do like that. I could put like steps down here. Like write that in there. Sleep, I briefly skimmed through, I have not read it in full, but I skimmed through Rebecca's, I think it was a Substack, talking about, I'm trying to think her planner name, if it's just Rebecca or not. I know she moved, I believe, from Europe to Florida a year or so ago. So if you know which Rebecca that is in the planning community, she has a pretty big channel. And I'll link her below. I'll just link her below. I found it really interesting. She was talking about like how all these trackers at the beginning of the planners or on the pages can set us up for kind of thinking that we're failing. I would say not set us up for failure, but just like thinking of like, hey, I need to fill this all in. Yeah, so I'm kind of looking at it like, what do I want to track? And I felt that when I tracked too many numbers exactly. So if I need to track like my blood pressure or something, then I need to have those exact numbers in there. But if I am tracking my sleep, I may like make a note about it, but I may not need to write the number of hours because then you're constantly looking. Like right now, even though I'm waking up earlier for, seeing my son off going to school and everything. So we are going to bed a little earlier. I'm finding that if I'm not tracking those numbers exactly, I'm a bit more at peace about things. So I was getting a little too wrapped up in all the numbers. And so when I kind of pulled back on that, going, okay, I can wake up going, okay, I'm not feeling as great. Like right now, I'm still waiting for some meds to get scheduled and everything. So I'm not doing great right now. And I know approximately how long that's been going on. It does help if your memory is very foggy and you need to track certain days. But I do find that as I'm stripping things away, and I think I'm going to do a video about this too, because I think I do agree on some points of just pulling back, trying to make things simpler and not be required. Like my brain goes, oh, there's a tracker. I've used it for half the year. I need to finish it. And there's some things, as I've mentioned over the past month or so after arriving, like, hey, I do want to go back and fill some of that in. But it's going to be from more of a broad view than like something daily. So that's what I'm thinking, like steps here. I might not do like exact steps. I might do like 2K, 5K, 10K, kind of a roundabout number I think could be helpful because that's kind of like the sum of the end of the day. This is like the beginning of the day. This is kind of mapping out the days and what is like really important here, and then being able to see the hours that my son is in school because it varies. His is all over the place. And that's something that, and sometimes he's just out of school sudden. And I like to kind of keep track of that a bit. So going back here, I probably, because often I find that I'll have these checklists here. I'll have this open so I can look at my checklist, and I'm not looking at this part. Now, if I'm making an appointment, I would flip this open and then schedule it. But for the most part, that's why I repeat. Like I'll put like trash here of like, we need to do it on that day. I don't normally write it here, but just kind of what do I need to keep my eye out for. I don't put my son's hours here. But yeah, if I had like a 3 p.m., actually I don't. What I've been trying to do is do like 1500, right? So I don't have to use AM, PM anymore. And then here, this I'm not sure, but I would love to do, yeah, like a spaghetti kind of thing. And then we have leftovers, salads. I can't spell salads. Okay. And excuse me. And let's see. Sorry, I'm just drinking some water, and apparently my digestive system wants to be really loud right now. Maybe that's my Crohn's, maybe not. I don't know. Sometimes, you know, have you ever experienced having definitely having a lot of mouth and throat sounds, and then it's like, I'm just drinking water. What is happening? And let's see, you know, so having that kind of stuff in there, like having a Friday we're going out. I like being able to see that there instead of having to flip over here and see those plans. I do like that separation, I have to say. So yeah, so I think this is set. These are kind of set. I might move these around, of course, see what makes the most sense. Maybe chores is first, then self-care. Because honestly, if you've been around for a while, I forget when I do some of my self-care items. So sometimes it's just kind of nice to have that on there, just so that I'm like, oh yeah, I do have to, even if it's like a couple month thing, a haircut, or I guess I don't put trimming my nails on there, but I do just manually, I just trim my nails at home because I can't have my nails very long. But like also when you're like giving yourself a pedicure, you know, I don't do it's just like your heels and your skin on your feet, you know, just trying to take care of that. So yeah, what would I put here is the question, because there is so much more space here than I was gonna try to get out my other one. It is buried. Hold on a sec. I have a bunch of stuff here, and I know it's gonna fall a little. Okay, so for my current, where's my current week? Okay. Yeah, I had like this. See, here's kind of the quadrant that I have. But there's so much room here for a list and then work. As you see, I haven't been updating this week, but I did do a lot of these things. So this could be just a list. I think she made it so that you could have appointments here and then having, sorry, I got off screen a little bit. And then you could just do a list there, but I'm kind of curious, like what I could utilize this part for. This could be a work planner right here. And instead of having here, well, the other thing is I love having lists that I need to do, but then I love marking what day I got them done. So if I had like a list of work things to do, I can say, well, I contacted my accountant here. I got this one file done. I uploaded here, you know, just to kind of see what I did. I think that would be really kind of nice. And I do kind of like, I mean, I'm messily doing this right now, but kind of highlighting these out. You can, It's a lot of lines. That's a lot of lines. I like seeing it here, not in the book. So I may not highlight that area. I think I kind of liked having these highlighted instead of here. So, yeah. So as I pull back then, and then it goes to like the monthly. And I do find, so this comes before the month and then you flip it. So it's technically like this, where that's before the month, just like the twines and paper. And then you see the month. So I'll probably use that the same way. I'll put tabs through the book so I can get to all the months. I don't think I would be using the monthly view very differently. I would probably just decorate it a bit, and I love that these aren't boxes here, that it's a nice big full box. And then I do like highlighting here when I decorate, and maybe something else here. This is kind of cool down here, I have to say. I haven't seen diagonal like that before. It's better than having it up here. It's really nice, I have to say, to have this area totally open. It's easier to write notes here and then just have this down at the bottom if you need it, or you can cover it up, right? And then I love having these as boxes all the way across. I have to say, in the current one where the boxes kind of end and you have to kind of go up, like say the month ends here, and then this line doesn't even exist. These boxes just don't even exist, and it goes up. It was harder to decorate that way. And if I look at this flip through, there's page turn noises when you flip through. If you go to the next month, I just want to make sure when I look at February, I'm seeing the same thing here. There's February. Yeah, no, well, that's it. 28 days, so it's going to be exactly the same. It's going to be identical. Okay, where's March? Here's March. Yeah, so March actually has all of these filled in. So like the month ends on a Tuesday, and these are all blocks and actually show the next month and these are kind of grayed out up here. I like that because I need to see like what days are coming up. If it's a whole new month, like here's a first, it's on a Sunday. I don't need to see these, but then if I go, okay, the first is a Sunday, I know like second, third, fourth are coming up, and I keep that kind of top of mind. And I think that's a really good tool to have here. So again, this is kind of like my first time going through this. And I'm really kind of liking it more than I thought I would. I can see the thought that's going into these. So, and then here, I usually write down like all the meals that we've had. And I used to keep much more of a pantry like list on the other side. So I kind of appreciated having that line there. But like now I'm just writing in the names of the meals that we're having. I don't actually go back and refer to it that much. I do like to see, sometimes we'll find some leftovers in the fridge and I'm like, I don't even know when we made those. We don't put a little date on them or anything. So I will look at my planner to see when that happens. Now I think you could totally like draw a line here and then keep a list over here of like things that you need, and have this side just be keeping track of your meals. And you could put stuff that's in your freezer and your pantry. We have a very small pantry here, very small. It's like a cupboard with 4 shelves. excuse me, the shelves do go back pretty far, but that makes it really hard to see what's in the back. So we're still, do we need a turntable? Do we need containers that will slide out? But we're also just not keeping much around. So that's kind of helping, of just shopping once a week. Some people shop every day or every couple days around here. So I don't think I would ever plan 2 weeks worth of food. Like we did definitely stock up on spices, oils, those kinds of things. A few baking ingredients, but we're trying to keep it to like, if the week that we need it, then we'll get it, but not necessarily have too much around. So this, I see this is totally usable. Now this side, I could see, because this comes like right after the month. So there's no December in this one. So I could use this as kind of like, what are the goals for January, and kind of as like I'm doing that now. So for like reflections and goals here, I'll have like a list here, and then I'll kind of reflect really quick. Did I get it done, and why not? Why is it being pushed forward? That kind of thing. So I do find that kind of helpful. So I might keep that there. I find that if I don't do any reflection, then I get a little too monotone. That's what my brain wants to call it. But I'm not going deep enough into making some progress on some bigger things. I think when I reflect on a month, now this is not a weekly reflection like I used to do for Moxie Life. I do kind of find like when I sit down on a Sunday to do my planning, that that's kind of my reflection time, that I don't need to really write it out. But reflecting on a month helps me more. And then, we all get kind of reflective at the year point. But again, I'm kind of zooming out going, okay, do I need to track so much? I do find Moxie Life can really help people, that if you are sitting down and writing down every week, kind of reflecting and coming from a point of non-judgmental, like just observation. Hey, this is what I could do. This was my capacity. There's no right and wrong in any of it. We can be depressed, or not depressed, but just disappointed that we didn't get to certain things. But I think it also reminds us that our capacity isn't what's in our mind. It's what our body can do. And, have some forgiveness during those reflections. Could I put a whole different media tracker in here? Maybe. I have to say I do like the media tracker that I started in this one, which was more the quarterly. Let's see. And I have not been keeping up with it quite as much. Where is it here? So this was like the first part of the year. I made little codes for each of the shows I was watching. And so there's just like 6 months of it. See, I haven't written down anything for September. I could probably look back through and see some things. Again, I'm not going to get down on myself for this, but I did like having this, because I'll just forget what I watched, and I also will forget when things come out. So if I'm like, oh, why isn't that show out? It's like, oh, it hasn't even been a year yet, so calm down. Just talking to myself about that. So I'm just kind of looking here, like if I go up a little bit, because that one is actually up. I like this kind of being open. It kind of feels more like you're taking notes, but if I were to draw a line there, I'd have to go up a little bit. Not the end of the world, right? So, and then before those, this is probably what I would do my media tracker, but I don't have anywhere on here to write the little codes. Or my media tracker can be here, which is very much like what I'm doing. So I love here, I didn't even realize this. When I look at the one a day, I don't think that's in here, is it? Oh, I guess she had it this way. Again, something else I'm still catching up on. I really like this. I'm going to be happy to archive this and maybe take some time around the holidays or this week to help fill some of those things in. But that full year one didn't have the days of the week. They had numbers, but I always was like, well, what day of the week is that? Because it really did help to anchor, okay, that was a Monday and I was feeling this way. And I love that the days of the week are on here. I know it makes it a little bit more busy, but again, this is a screenshot, so it's going to be a little fuzzy. But if you can see, like, the 1st of September is a Tuesday or a Thursday. Does she do? No, she just does T's for Tuesday and Thursday, which is more typical, I understand. I would love an R. That's just me. I think that's part of the academic world from my college days of just seeing an R for Thursdays. But yeah, I would have to see if the info that I would want to put here would be corresponding to what I have here, because the quarters, she has them one after another. It's just 1, 2, 3, 4. And so when you flip again, it'll say quarter 2. And so these aren't all like right next to each other. So that's what I'm thinking about. Maybe, you know what I could do a tip in. That's what I could do, and put on like a page that flops back and forth the codes for things. Yeah, I think that would work so much better. And then I can see, like, add a year, put the little codes in for like what I'm watching, the codes just being acronyms, and have on this flopping sheet. Then I wouldn't have to, like in this one, when I had that these were like corresponding to the month. A lot of things that we watch will go on and on, like especially if it's like Bob's Burgers runs like all year. I wouldn't have to, well, I don't rewrite them, but it would be nice to just write it once, right? And then the tip in here could even just be like traveler notebook size. Like it doesn't have to be a full A5. It could be just a little piece that sticks out. That's like not quite half, like travelers probably comes to there, but at least that piece would be a little smaller so I could see that. So that's probably what I would do there, and then possibly use this for more business. I was gonna see really quick what else is at the beginning here. Okay, I didn't print it out, but she also has a page that has 2027, 2028, and all of 26. I would use that for my medical stuff. Definitely my infusions that are every 8 weeks, which I think are going to continue. I will go into that more on my regular planning video, but just to have the whole year. So she just has a whole year right here, just that looks like these. And I would just highlight like when those are. And then I love looking ahead a couple years to see when those dates fall, especially with holidays. And now that if we're traveling, it's going to be a lot more planning ahead, because the flights are more expensive to visit back in the States. So yeah, that would be more medical. I'm just thinking, and then she has a double page that's just totally blank. I could see putting like my little, not dashboard, what's it called? When you put the pictures, this thing, whatever this is called, vision board, that's what it's called. Would love to put that there. And then it goes, right into quarter one and all the quarters. And then into the year at a glance. See, I would almost flip those, but I kind of understand why they're not. And then it goes right into the months. So there isn't a whole lot. I think there's a few things in the back of the book where this year I just put a tab for calls and information that I needed to write down. So it's just a tab I can flip to whenever I'm making a phone call. And then in the very back, I just had, I put my stickers here right now, but my swatches, and I loved how much more simple that was. So yeah, so that's my kind of like impressions of what, because it's still going to be a while. I know her printer was getting the final ones to her, like the very earliest was like October 20th or in the October 20s, somewhere around in there. That's when she receives them. So I think I'll get mine like very late November, if not early December. I know it'll take like 2 or 3 weeks at least, and it'll be during holiday times, to go from Canada to the EU here, anywhere in Europe. So, I thought I would play with these a bit, and I'm really excited. I can kind of see, as I got further and further towards the front here, it definitely gets into yearly planning, which I'm just like, I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what I could do, but I could just use these for business only, because like big project wise, we're not renovating anything because we rent. We're not, we made our big move. Right now it's, for our visa purposes, I have to focus on business stuff. So yeah, I don't think having like a separate business planner, this might be enough right here to, have 3 goals, 3 things, three here. So there's a lot of 3s going on here, but I don't know. I don't know how I would use this. I would revisit it later and kind of maybe show what that is. So yeah, that's my impressions of the Faded Chronicle that's coming out. And I think she's still taking orders. I don't know if it's part of the first pre-order group. It might be part of the second one, or maybe once she gets them all, you'll be part of like sending them out. Look at the website. Please look at the website, because things are kind of moving a little bit here and there. And also pay attention to tariff info. If you're in the States and it's coming from Canada, there's definitely going to be something on there. And these are, I believe, being made in China, so it's where they're originating from. So yeah, kind of weigh that out. I know there's a lot going on with the paper tests. She's launching things too, but the tariffs are really causing, it's making things very expensive. I've mentioned this kind of in my weekly plans, but last week, but it was like a 35-ish, 39-ish dollar, euro, well, it would be dollars. It'd be euros here. So you're buying in euros, and then it would be transferring to dollars if you're in the States. Like 35, 39, it was getting to be like 90 euro to just have it delivered. And there's kind of no way around it. Even if you ordered in bulk, the tariff amount goes up and the shipping price is like 30 euro, but that's to get the tracking right. And that's what all the shipping partners over here are charging because they're having to track and pay so much more over here. Like they're doing more work, so they had to up their prices. If the tariffs weren't there, I don't think they would have done that. So because they're collecting all these tariffs and then sending them places and whatnot, it just makes it harder. I know. So consider like buying your planners as locally as possible. There isn't as much, there's VAT here. So that's going to be on anything that I buy here. And I do pay VAT on like Sterling ink. I'm trying to remember if I paid VAT on Canada. Probably. And try to buy locally. Try to buy, like, if I know you may love some of the designs that are coming outside of the States, try to buy within, if that's what your budget is allowing this year, because I know everything is more expensive. I know. Let me know if you have any questions about this. I will definitely do a first impressions of the actual book when I receive it in my hand, which, will probably be very late November, December. So take care, everyone, and I hope this was helpful. I don't think I'll do any other printouts of any other planners because this was the one that was different enough. The only other ones I got were Sterling ink, and and those are coming very soon. I did get a notification that they were boxing them up, and many times, almost 100% of the time, their local post office never scans them coming in. Like they'll stick all the stickers on there, and only after they start the box starts moving, especially when it probably hits boarding a plane in the US to come over, it'll probably be scanned at that point. Because it's been a couple days and there's like no movement, but that is very much what our local post office does. It just does that, and it'll just look like it's not moving for a week, and then all of a sudden it pops up. So I think I'll get that one probably in about 2 weeks, and I will definitely kind of unbox and show you those. And then this is the other one I got, and I think that's it. I think it's going to be kind of chill this year. I am also looking at seeing what some of my local stockists. I did buy something from a local Netherlands company here, and I do have to wait for that one as well. So there is a third one. I'm not sure what I'm going to use that for, but it's one I really wanted from last year. And then I was thrilled to see that someone had stocked it locally so I could buy it locally. So take care, everyone. And if you like this on the way out, subscribe if you want to see what else is coming. And take care, everyone. Bye.